ASEAN Breakfast Call. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hello and welcome to Durian ASEAN. You're with Gowri.
Hello, this is Grace.
And this is Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. And of course, we are back here with you on this Tuesday morning.
That's correct.
Right?
Yes, how are you, Gowri?
I am doing very good. You don't look too well, though.
I am fine. I think it's the specs, I guess.
think it's the morning thing.
Yeah, I bought the specs just to cover my very fatigued and then tired face.
with the eye bags and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, we are going to share with our listeners some of the recent happenings around the region, around Southeast Asia. And before that, let's move away from Southeast Asia and go all the way to NYC.
Yay, we are traveling up there.
Yes, it's just a little news about Prince William and Kate arriving on their first trip actually in New York City.
That's correct. And then this couple happily arriving in an NYC, and it's pretty a big news because it's their first visit to New York.
And there's also been some demonstrations actually in England itself. The demonstrations which have featured some brief blockades of intersections which also disrupted the traffic. But so far there's been nothing in New York. They're fine and they will be there while it's just a brief trip while
yeah, definitely he's also going to visit President Barack Obama.
Yep, I was just gonna go there. Yes, and New York City's First Lady, who is Shirlane McRae, will escort Kate to meet youngsters at the Northside Center for Child Development. So it's just the usual trip where they go and meet people and trying to foster these diplomatic relationships. However, there is something a little more pressing that is happening in India.
Okay, we are traveling all the way to India now.
We're slowly coming back to Southeast Asia. And in India, New Delhi actually bans Uber after an alleged rape case that was reported just a few days back.
Why India? Out of all the country, again India having this rape case, and then this is my favorite taxi company, Uber, and it was banned. How sad it is.
It is, and of course the case is alleged, but like you just mentioned just now, again it's India. Of course we don't want to put that stereotype on India. We don't want to be biased when we're reporting, but it's inevitable that we have read a lot of rape cases from India, especially the most cruel one that happened just a few years back, and there was a wide outrage all over the country, and people were not happy. A lot of women were not happy. That girl actually died following the rape case, and nothing could be done to save her. And we would think that things would change after that, but it seems that things are still the same. Awareness is still not there.
Well, the company has not done any background checkup on this driver, who is 32-year-old man who had spent several months in jail on a separate rape charge before being acquitted in 2012. So he had his own history before.
Isn't that just really, I want to say dumb, but when it comes to hiring people, especially taxi drivers or anyone at all, security guards, it's always very, very important to do a background check. And even back in Malaysia, sometimes even the background checks can be deceiving. I don't know if you know, but one of the banking officer was actually killed.
Yes, and then a lot of other cases are happening, and then this definitely is leading to women's safety in India, and definitely many females will be scared of the oldest Uber drivers in India. So now eventually it's banned.
Yeah, that is a very sad news because Uber has a very good reputation, especially here in Malaysia, and the fact that it's banned now is sad, but it's not banned in Malaysia. It's been accepted by the authorities even recently, right? With Uber.
Yeah. But then luckily in Malaysia, it's legalized and then the people can safely use the Uber. But unfortunately, India, they're facing this problem when it comes to taxi application.
And of course, this news is more than just taxi. It's about the rape that took place, about what the government is planning to do about these rape cases, because there's been countless news about women getting raped, and like it's also mentioned here, this incident has raised the issue of women's safety in India. And it's not just about going back at night. People even get raped during broad daylight, and this is something that the country would really want to do away with, especially in terms of human rights, in terms of attracting even potential investors to come in and be a part of the country. I mean, even if you look at it from a tourism point of view, if you hear about all these rape cases, you'd be scared to book a flight ticket to India.
Of course. And then, in fact, what happened here was the driver actually did, of course, threaten to kill her if she reported the crime to the police. And then, according to the Delhi police, says that it appeared that Uber had not followed the standard procedure for private cab services. And now it's really interesting because there's a tension between the police and the Uber company, and the police is blaming the Uber company, of course, for not having the background checkup. And whereas on the Uber side, they said that the GPS had not been installed in the taxi, so they couldn't track down where the driver was going.
Well, but in that case, Uber should probably look into it if it's already been banned in New Delhi. So if they want to get it back out there in the market for people to use, they probably have to come up with more assuring measures, like making sure that every vehicle has the GPS, and you cannot just come out later and say, oh, this vehicle did not have the GPS, so
Exactly.
we didn't know where it was going or what was happening with this passenger. Because that's one thing that Uber really guarantees the customers as well, that makes it different from other taxi applications.
Yeah. And also what Gowri you mentioned before, it's not only Uber, the taxi company in India. Other taxi companies, they need to do background checkup, and then it is currently absent in the Delhi's commercial transportation licensing program, which can lead to huge problem in the future.
And that is definitely something that they can start working on. And let's move on to Japan now for a bit from India. And it seems that Japan is also not doing too well economically, which is very, very shocking, because in this region, when you think of economy, you always think of Japan.
Japan is
they have
developed
the
country.
best, and they have the fastest growing economy, the hardest working people. But it seems that their mood has been down too.
Yes, the confidence at Japanese manufacturers actually went down in December this month, and it's also expected to go even lower than that, while the mood as service firm rebounded. And also all this frail business sentiment in the monthly, it will only weaken the whole these sectors, according to the Bank of Japan Takan survey.
And according to this survey, also there has been further doubt on the central bank's economic forecast, and the oil price has been falling as well. And the central bank, which stunned investors worldwide on 31st of October by expanding its quantitative easing, could actually come under pressure for more stimulus, although there were a lot of skepticism saying that the inflation will accelerate to 2% in that year, starting in 2015. And apart from that, there are other factors like the wobbly business mood, as they termed it, and the outlook for Abenomics, which is interesting because they infused the name of Prime Minister Shinzo. And it seems that he's set to keep power in the December 14 vote, and he has dubbed a referendum in his reflationary policy. When it comes to elections, or when it comes to any kind of elections, whether it's a big one or it's a state one, it always affects how the country does, because we may not be aware of it, but investors outside are just waiting and observing to see who is going to be the next person to take in charge of the country, and what are this person's policies, foreign policies, economic policies, and how will this benefit us.
Definitely. And also the managers there, they are definitely concerned, and they actually express their concern on the weaknesses in demand after the increase in the national sales tax, and which actually tipped Japan's back into recession, which means it will only lead to higher import costs due to the yen's fail. So yen is the Japanese currency, and it keeps falling, and then that will definitely reduce the value of all those import costs, and uncertainty over this global economic adds to their concerns.
And they're also saying that they've come up with some positive projections for next year, but then again, a positive number can only means that they have more optimists rather than pessimists, and it doesn't really assure that the condition is actually improving in Japan. And from Japan, let's come back to our golden triangle here in Southeast Asia. And this is very, very interesting because back then we had the Opium War that was that was happening in China because the British actually came over, and they kind of wanted to get into the Chinese market, but they couldn't do it because the Chinese at that time were very strict with how they ran the country and all. And because of that, the British actually introduced the opium to the Chinese people and kind of worked through their way. And it seems that the opium production is still very high in our very own Golden Triangle, especially in Laos and Myanmar.
And that's actually very good, because cultivation of opium poppies in Laos and Myanmar covered a huge areas of the land in 2014, and marking on the continual increase of farming of these crops, with harvest in almost threefold increase since 2006. So this is actually quite a bit of increase in the amount of opium cultivation.
And it seems that there is actually a high regional demand in heroin, and it had given very profitable incentives to organized transnational crime groups. So no, it's not very good, Grace.
Well, but then the Myanmar, it reveals that Myanmar remains the biggest opium producer in Southeast Asia, and also second biggest after Afghanistan.
And this is also worrying the UNODC, which is the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, and they are saying that this high opium production can actually threaten the regional integration, the ASEAN integration, and also the AEC integration. It comes back to affect us because of course it's a very different kind of economic activity, and like you mentioned, the Shan province in the northern part of Myanmar, which is actually the home to a lot of conflict areas and rebel groups, is actually the center for all these heroin activities. And they alone, that Shan province alone, contribute 89% to the cultivation of the opium poppies in the Golden Triangle area.
Okay, with this news, definitely this worries me too. And then in Laos,
oh, now you're
worried.
worried.
The survey confirmed that the cultivation of opium poppies in the three northern provinces, such as, hope I can pronounce them correctly, Hophan, and then Phong Sali, and then Siang Kwang. Yeah, those provinces has the high cultivation opium. And also, it says the result of economic surveys on the farmers living in opium-producing villages show that the money earned from this cultivation of opium poppies was essential for villagers threatened by hunger and poverty. So, well, on the other hand, as much as it gives worrisome to when it comes to crime, but then it also gives job opportunities to the villagers in the country.
That is actually a very interesting angle to this news, because it also says that these opium farmers are not bad people, just people who are facing hunger and living very far away from business centers. And also, like I mentioned earlier, it's the Shan province that is the largest contributor to this cultivation, and they are the one who are in the conflict areas.
Of course.
The one in the rebel groups, the one who are denied the basic rights, and they have no job opportunities, so they resort to this kind of activities to sustain themselves. So we cannot really judge whether what they're doing is right or wrong from this, because like you said, they need to survive as well, and they don't have access to all these opportunities outside.
Perhaps they should have some kind of a policy or restrictions over producing this opium, because they cannot just simply stop producing this cultivation of opium because of the people there. And like you said, they are not bad people. They just simply choose this job because of the lack of opportunity and the lack of job areas that they can choose to. So actually, it was warned that the opium trade and the business had threatened the good aims of regional integration and development plans.
And the UNODC country manager to Laos has also spoken up. His name is Sheikh Tur, and he said, of course, these people need an alternative economic opportunity, which is one of which is from the cultivation of opium poppies. And he warned that this opium trade and business had already threatened the good aims of our regional integration, our development plans. And of course, that is something that we will not disagree with when we have a few countries dealing with opium in this region.
For sure.
It does, to a certain extent, affect the reputation in this region, especially at this point when we're trying to attract more people to come in and to explore the ASEAN market. And this probably goes back to the Myanmar and Laos government to provide alternative opportunities for these people so they can gradually move away from this opium business. And let's move on to Malaysia. We come back home now. And it's about the very controversial IMDb, actually. And it seems that the investment fund is said to be a disaster.
Yes, in 2008, this young man by the name of Joe Lo Tak, a Penang born graduate with all those champagne and Broadway blondies, he actually approached Malaysia's Terengganu state government with a proposal to use the state authority to sell this huge amount of money, which was 10 billion ringgit, in bonds to start a state-backed investment fund.
And that proposal has led to Tony Phua, who is from DAP, and he called this the mother of all scandals in the history of Malaysia.
Too many mothers, Gowri.
And yes, of course. And Najib, who is the head of the 1MDB advisory board, has of course been faced with a lot of questions from lawmakers in parliament, attack from so many different people, even from our former Prime Minister Tun Mahathir and Finance Minister Daim Zainuddin over what can be regarded as a very astonishing level of mismanagement that we're talking about here. And the question,
do we actually need another government?
The question is why Malaysia needed this backed investment fund in the first place. And it already has the Khazanah, it has the EPF, and also the Ministry of Finance handling this thing. So why was it necessary for us to get involved with this other scandal? And also, if you look at it, it's on another news, it said that this 1MDB dirt will come out pretty soon, and everyone is going to be affected by this. And Dr. Mahathir said that whether you praise him or damn him, it's simply his own business. He's of course talking about our Prime Minister Najib, and he said that whatever it is, Najib has to deal with it and answer to the people.
Yes, and also the recent months, in fact, the government, in an attempt to build up the fund so it can be listed, and also has the strong-armed at least 3 no-bid contract for 1MDB to build a coal-fire and also solar power plants. And one of those power plants, for sure, in the projects nearby the Malacca, was awarded 1MDB despite the lower bid from the joint venture of YTL International Company, partly owned by the Sultan of Johor, who also said to have been enraged by the loss, and it's demanding privately that CIPP be given its own no-bid contract for another plant.
And another thing about 1MDB is also that it doesn't have a backup plan, and that is why a lot of people are quite certain that this this plan is going to just fall short and turn into a disaster, because although 1MDB managed to source its own funds, the money actually has not been spent wisely, and they've had several bad business deals, like you mentioned, buying the power plants at a very, very high. They actually bought it at a higher cost than the market price, and some of it was also invested into some risky business like the Cayman Islands, and the Cayman Islands itself would add up to about 7 billion in cash, and it's a huge amount of gamble. Yes,
for sure. And also the government has stepped in to extend the contract for the IPPs, which were supposed to end after their contract period ended. And of course, this is not enough. The government then tendered a contract to build the coal-fired plant in the Port Exin. Critics, of course, charged the contract was unnecessary. That Tenanga National, the state-owned utility, which had the experience and capital to build the plant itself.
And this affects Najib if we were to look at it from a wider angle, because he has already been done a lot of scandalous moves. First of all, of course, a lot of people are not happy about the GST that is going to be implemented next year, and then also he went back on his words and said that he's maintaining the Sedition Act, and our ringgit is also not doing too well right now, and now we have the one MDB problem going on. And what will Najib really do next year, and how he's going to turn around the country, how he's going to turn around the economy? I guess a lot of people will be quite skeptical when it comes to Najib's leadership at the moment, and also if this 1MDB doesn't work out, does he have a plan B? Does he have
backup plan?
A backup plan, yes. And this all kind of goes back to him in a way, and of course at the end of the day it reflects back on us, because he is the prime minister of this country.
But then for sure, my personal opinion on this is more critics will be released and expected on these plans that was introduced by the prime minister and the government as well.
And what another thing that 1MDB has not done is make enough money to cover its huge debt, and it seems that no up-to-date accounts have been filed either. And all these moves, I'm sure the government is coming up with a lot of moves to rescue or to just lessen the damage that 1MDB can potentially cause to investors. And like you mentioned, the critics probably will have a lot to say, so we will.
One of them is they pointed out that 1MDB has never built anything, and it's just mainly relying on the expertise of the Tenanga National. And in fact, the bid for the 50 megawatt solar power plant project in Kedah and also in north of the country is to be the largest solar plant in Malaysia, despite the fact that there's no guaranteed offtake. That is the prices for solar, even though they had fallen sharply, still exceeded the conventional plants that the Malaysians are going to end up paying more for their electricity.
Yes, this will eventually cost Malaysia's taxpayers and ratepayers quite a considerable amount of money. So we'll just wait and see what happens with this, and we will of course report whatever updates that we have. And just before we wrap things up for this morning, the US has actually stepped in with the ASEAN Business Council and said the TPP must be a done deal by 2015. It's interesting, we were just talking about the RCEP and TPP yesterday.
And RCEP will be concluded in 2015, and now the US actually stepped into and then said that TPP also must be done a deal in 2015. So a lot of things will be going on in 2015 next year.
So apart from the US, this 12-member grouping, which of course consists of Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Mexico, Malaysia, New Zealand, Japan, Peru, Singapore, and Vietnam, it seems that we've already missed two important deadlines, and it looks like it's going to be quite a challenging event. But this guy, Mark Mealy, is confident that the TPA would be available early next year to take take place.
And also, in addition to that, he also said that we can expect the TPA to be the place in the first quarter, and for the done deal to take place in the second quarter, and also in the third quarter, the package to deal will be placed before the Congress.
And US is of course excited about our AEC, about our regional integration that will be happening next year. And of course Malaysia is the chair. We are going to be the next host, taking over from Myanmar. And it seems that our diversity can actually help the US in a lot of ways. But then again, we were also highlighted yesterday that the RCEP will actually have a lot more benefits to us than the TPP.
Yeah, but then again, like I always say, execution is the most important thing. But here, what will happen is American, all these multinational corporations will work even harder and aggressively to push for TPP, even if it means to intense the lobby effort with the lawmakers. And like you said on the AEC part, Millie also said the Malaysian is well positioned to benefit from it.
And that will be all for our news commentary for this morning. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and also Instagram.
And then we have this app called TuneIn app. So download this app and find us at 3 ASEAN.